Good evening, everybody, and welcome once again to Story Hour. I am your host, Daniel Marcus. My fabulous co-host is Laura Blackwell. And I hope that you are all safe and healthy and taking care of yourselves and taking care of one another. I started Story Hour in the early throes of the pandemic lockdown in early 2000 with the intention of just creating a little space for my writer friends and I to just share our work with each other. And Laura, being one of said writer friends, she joined, and shortly thereafter, I asked if she would join me as co-host. And since then, together, every week, we have been bringing you just amazing work. I mean, I really did not expect this when I started this, but it's been a real privilege. Uh, and here we are once again. Uh, So the way this works is I think of it as one of the oldest forms of human entertainment, which is folks kind of sitting around the fire and telling lies to each other. And many, countless millennia later, here we are. Every week we have two authors, about 30 minutes each, doing exactly that. Tonight, we're really happy to welcome Timothy G. Huguenin and Todd Keisling. I'm also happy to announce that at least in 2023, and hopefully will be renewed in 2024, we have received a SIFWA Givers Grant, which just helps us with hosting fees and Zoom fees and helps us continue to keep the lights on and continue to bring you all what we seriously think. And I don't think this is like grandiose on our part, but it's really some of the best spoken word speculative fiction you can get anywhere. Um, so it is also our custom to ask our authors to indicate a worthy cause for us to call your attention to. And, if you have some spare scratch, if you can contribute, that's great. If you can't, that's fine too. Just be aware. If you're so inclined, spread the word on organization if it strikes your fancy, but just awareness is great. So Todd is reading tonight for One by One Cat Rescue. That's onebyoneCatRescue.org. And it's exactly what it sounds like. They are a no-kill cat rescue organization dedicated to helping abandoned cats, strays, and rescue cats within their communities, which is Berks County, Pennsylvania, and the surrounding area. And they provide shelter, foster care, and they will always place a cat's health, happiness, and well-being above all else. So One by One Cat Rescue, please check them out. Timothy tonight is reading for the Set Free Alliance, setfreealliance.org. The Set Free Alliance serves people by meeting their most basic human needs. They work primarily in India, Sierra Leone, and Liberia, and they focus on immediate challenges that will help make a long-term impact. So please check them out as well, setfreealliance.org. And we are going to start tonight with Tim. Timothy G. Huguenin is a hillbilly writer of the strange and spooky who lives in the dark Allegheny Mountains of West Virginia. He's the author of the books When the Watcher Shakes, Little One, and Unknowing I Sink. His short stories have appeared in various publications, including Vesteri and Cosmic Horror Monthly, and of all things, the Saturday Evening Post. How cool is that? You can follow his work and get a free ebook at mountainhorror.com. So, Tim, welcome. The floor is yours.
Thank you. Really happy to be here, especially reading alongside Todd, who's a great writer. I really like The Last Reconciliation. I forget when that was that he wrote that, but I really like that book. Before I start, I just wanted to mention real quick, in case anybody's sensitive to this, in my story, there's a very, very brief and not graphic talk of suicide. It's just a couple sentences that mentions that, just in case that's a problem for anybody. This story I'm reading is called The Unknown Thing. It was first published in 2018 in this anthology right here, Beneath the Waves, Tales from the Deep, edited by Steve Dillon. So, without further ado, I will begin. All back, all back! The paddlers in Charlie's raft strained against the current, but even as he yelled it, he knew it was too late. He had come into the rapid too fast. A few kayakers were watching for safety up on top of Touchstone, the big dark sandstone block that pokes a sharp angle into the Augustus River. Charlie was supposed to follow the line of current to where it piles up on the rock's corner and just kiss it, drop back down past it, and sneak between the two exposed boulders at the bottom of the rapid. But his boat had too much momentum. It was going to slam straight into Touchstone's broad face. The kayakers started blowing their whistles. All back! Dig it in! Touchstone rushed at them. Charlie suspected if he had a free hand, he could have felt his heart beating through his life jacket. His stomach turned. They were toast. This is going to suck. The impact rocked everyone from the boat and dumped them into the gnarly, churning eddy waters in front of Touchstone known as Witch's Cauldron. One of Charlie's paddlers, well, they were swimmers now, collided with him under the surface. Panicking, the kid scratched and then pushed Charlie deeper in his efforts to get back to air. A paddle smacked Charlie in the nose, causing him to gasp and inhale a lungful of the sour-tasting Augustus River. He swam toward the light, broke the surface, and coughed it out. Snot and blood flew from his nose. All the swimmers had been flushed out of the eddy except one. With Touchstone's wall blocking Charlie's view downriver, he could only assume the other boats from his company were picking up the swimmers at the bottom of the rapid. The kid in the eddy with Charlie grabbed onto one of the ropes that the kayakers had thrown. He was crying as they hauled him up. Charlie reached for the other rope. For a moment, he felt a degree of relief, but the current sucked him under again, and the wet poly cord slipped from his grip. The river thrashed him mercilessly. All he could see was green and white foam. His body slammed against Touchstone, then he was thrown back up toward the surface. He swam for it hard, but just as his fingertips felt air, the cauldron pulled him under again. In water like this, it didn't matter how strong a swimmer was, or how long he'd been a river guide. At a certain point, if the river wanted you, it took you. He curled into a ball and emptied his lungs, hoping he could reach a deeper current that would flush him downriver. He sank deep into the cool darkness and surrendered to the mighty Augustus River. Another current did catch him, but not the one he was hoping for. He felt rocks scrape against his back. Undercut. It flashed in his mind too fast to form a complete thought, barely even a word, but the image was strong. Water seeking its way through some underwater crevice beneath Touchstone, one that likely narrowed off to a sieve that would catch Charlie. He would be pinned by the water. He would drown. It would be a long time before they would recover his body. He panicked and flailed against the current, but it was no use. If there was any hope at all, it wasn't back but through. He got control of his head, put his hands on the rock. He did what he could to guide himself as he was pushed underneath, hoping there was space enough to get free on the other side. His starved lungs throbbed. All light disappeared. He stretched both arms out and felt rock all around him, then realized the current had pulled him deep into an underwater tunnel. After a minute in the tunnel, his life jacket brought him to the surface again, but all was total darkness. He drank in the oxygen, and for a few moments he was so surprised to be alive that he didn't wonder why he couldn't see anything. There was a second after he began to breathe comfortably that he thought he'd gone blind. But he was missing more than his sight. Where was the sun's warmth or the sounds of raft guides picking up his swimmers? It was cold here, and he could hear nothing but the echoing rush of water. He was still underground. "Hey!" he yelled, but he barely heard himself above the water's sewer-like sound. Nobody was going to hear him down here. As far as he knew, nobody was even aware that this tunnel existed. "Hey!" he screamed again, still teetering on panic's razor edge. His head and shoulders bobbed as he felt the current drag him quickly toward more of the same blackness. The tunnel had widened, so he couldn't feel a wall on either side, even with his arms outstretched. He swam down and found the bottom. Couldn't keep himself under for very long without taking off his life jacket, and he wasn't about to do that. But he briefly touched the firm clay and estimated a depth of 7 feet. Maybe. Easily over his head, anyway. He tried swimming cross-current to see if there was a bank or a ledge, but he ran into smooth, slick rock on either side. It was maybe 6 feet across from wall to wall, but it was hard to tell without any light. He was still being carried along by the water. Then his stomach leaped in through his throat, and he felt empty air under his feet. He held his breath. The fall was long enough that he wondered if he should even bother. Any rocks below would certainly kill him. A deep pool caught his body without breaking it. He wasn't sure if he was relieved, though. He knew there was no way he was going back the way he came. Is this it? Is this how it ends? One long swim in total darkness, always wondering if the next drop will crush me, or when the tunnel will shrink down until I'm wedged in it like a hunk of plaque clotting an artery. He could end it early. slip out of this life as easily as removing a piece of clothing, just a few buckles and a zipper. He thought on this, but as long as the current pulled him through this cave, there was a chance of rescue, however slight it was. He didn't know where the underground stream led. For all he knew, it could come out into the Gustus River again. Obviously, this water had to go somewhere. Whether he would make it to the other side, he didn't know. This wasn't the first time he'd thought of throwing off his mortal clothes. For a while now, he hadn't found pleasure in the things he once loved. Literature, music, the river, the Appalachian Mountains. These only reminded him of what they had meant to him at a different time, a different life, it seemed. He didn't know why. He didn't know if he would ever get back again. When it came down to it, it was always the unknown thing that made him hold on to this life. Fear of losing or attaining whatever that unknown thing was, hope or destruction on the other side, fear and curiosity. Besides, he thought, shivering, dying of hypothermia is a better way to go than drowning, right? The water didn't sound as violent as before, but he still felt he was moving swiftly. He tried swimming back and forth again, hoping for a rock, an eddy, a ledge, anything. But there was no way to stop himself. Even if he could swim up against the current, there was that waterfall behind him. I'm really going to die down here. That thought settled on him, pressing down with a weight like the river's force that it would inevitably bury him in this watery grave. What could he do to save his own life? There was nothing. Nothing at all. He found himself holding back tears. He gave himself permission for them, and then he shook with great, body-wrenching sobs. He wiped his eyes and blinked, realizing now that he could tell the difference when they were open. He looked downstream and saw a bend in the tunnel. There was light around that bend. The dark, lonely weight lifted from his chest so quickly that he laughed. He swam with the current toward that bend, toward that light, toward life and freedom. Yet on the other side, he saw no escape. As a river guide, he knew water, so he knew the tunnel's bend had caused an eddy on that side, so he swam for it. Unlike the roiling eddy lines of Witch's Cauldron, this one was calm. Though he still couldn't find purchase on the smooth limestone wall, at least he could wait here where the current curled back on itself and try to figure out the source of the light. But he saw no way out in any direction. Dim light seemed to emanate from the rock itself or the air, and it wasn't white light as the sun gives it. Everything was tinted a soft teal. The tunnel walls, its dripping ceilings, his body, the water all around. Charlie wasn't concerned by this unnatural color. He'd been in a few caves before, and his mind was focused on one truth. There was no way for this light to exist down here without some kind of opening somewhere. There had to be an exit, if not here, then downstream. He swam to the main current and let it pull him. The teal light brightened slowly as he was carried along, never revealing its source. What is going on? Is the cold getting to my brain? Despair weighed again on his heart as he saw no sign of an escape route. All was smooth rock and sickening teal. He punched the cold water and cursed it. The tunnel tightened. The current's turbulence increased. This time he couldn't see the drop ahead. This time he could see the drop ahead. He tried again to swim against the current, but he was too exhausted, too cold to make any progress. There were no side eddies to park in. He wished for the darkness again, and anticipation was the worst. Again, faced with the inevitability of his direction, he couldn't look away from the water's horizon line drawing near. He could only go where the water went. And where did that water go? Did he truly want to know? Nobody wants it, he thought. Nobody wants to know the inevitable unknown thing. But somehow we can't stop looking for it. It was both an instant and an age before he was swept off the ledge. This time it wasn't a long drop, but a series of shallow ledges. He tumbled and slipped down each, the rounded limestone too smooth to grip. No doubt the rocks bruised his hips and buttocks severely, but he was too numb to really suffer anymore. On the second to last drop, he heard and felt a chilling crack as his head slammed into the rock and knocked some stars into his vision. He was jangled up, but his helmet took the brunt of the damage, saving him from a severe concussion. The last drop was gentler. The water deepened. The current carried him onward. He screamed at the nothing down in this hopeless cave, the self-perpetuating light toying with his hope at his lack of control. Beyond, as if it had heard his despairing cry, the cave split into 3 separate tunnels. None with any visible ground to stand on, all tinted in that eerie teal light. Which one should he take? For a moment, the heavy responsibility of this choice froze him. Any of these tunnels might lead to death. One might lead to life. Without any particular reason other than had he picked one, he swam for the middle passage. Strange markings appeared on the walls. It looked like some ancient language had been carved into the rock. Though he couldn't read any of it, the words filled him with dread that he couldn't understand, something different than the mere certainty of death. He felt both repulsed by the inscriptions and drawn to them. He swam to one side and felt the letters with what little sensation was left in his fingertips. He tried digging his fingers into some of the grooves, but the water carried him so quickly that his waterlogged skin ripped open. He screamed not as much from pain as from hopelessness. The tunnel twisted until it split again into 4 other tunnels just like the one he'd been in, all glowing, all filled with cryptic letters. So you want to choose your fate, the tunnel seemed to say. Go ahead. See if you can change it. If he didn't know any better, Charlie might have mistaken the swirling water's sound for laughter. He swam to the passage furthest from him, not because he thought he had any better chance of getting out that way, but because it gave him an excuse to get the blood flowing. He needed more circulation. His head was starting to get loopy. And sure, there was that illusion of control that he craved. The current quickened. The markings on the wall became a blur. His heart beat as it had when his raft was screaming toward Touchstone. He whimpered, but he couldn't hear himself over the water's roar. Tunnels opened to more tunnels. Everything looked the same. His sense of speed and time became meaningless, garbled by this whole senseless descent, and perhaps also by the cold icicles of hypothermia creeping into his brain, muddying his thoughts. Charlie didn't even try to choose anymore. He just let the current take him where it wished. Self-agency was a sham. At last he was dumped into a great cavern. The water calmed to a barely noticeable current. He gasped at monstrous stalactites hanging from the ceiling 100 feet above him, each one probably hundreds of pounds, their white limestone appearing bluish-green in that strange everywhere and nowhere light. Likewise, phenomenal stalagmites towered up from the deep, some of them meeting their stalactite mates to form columns like great flowing pillars bearing the tons of earth above. The unreadable script he had seen in the tunnels covered the far cavern walls. This huge, calm, lighted pool offered Charlie the chance to swim around freely, find some other route out of the cave. But instead of renewed hope, heavy despair still weighed on him. Indeed, it settled in with greater mass, for the teal light was thick and nauseating, the alien script nerve-wracking, the dripping, ancient formations evoking a sense of unholy awe. He figured he was one of the very few humans, if not the only human, ever to witness this dreadful cathedral. It's the unknown thing's temple. It was with difficulty that Charlie's sluggish brain formed this mysterious thought. Water dripped from the stalagmites into the pool. Each droplet took its own sentience in Charlie's imagination. They shouted the alarm, warning each other of this intruder to their realm. He drifted slowly toward one of the smaller stalagmites, which was still wider in diameter than his shoulder's breadth. He hugged this slick, furrowed tooth and cried. I can't, he blubbered. I can't. I want to, but I can't. The water began to feel inexplicably and increasingly warmer. The light glowed brighter beneath its surface now at the center of the cavern. The pool began to churn. Charlie screamed, clamped his eyes shut, and held to the stalagmite like a toddler wrapping himself around a parent's leg. If the current had wished to pull him from the rock, it could have, for he was too weak now to truly resist. But it left him alone. Terrible noises came from the pool's center. Watery noises, unnatural in their manner. I woke it. It's coming. It's rising. He struggled between looking and hiding his face, between that curiosity and fear of the unknown thing we always chase from our thoughts, except in our darkest and loneliest hours. He should have drowned himself when he first entered this cave, but he had to know. At last, he opened his eyes and gazed upon it. Glowing and dripping wet, it coiled itself around the largest column, perhaps the only one that could support the thing's tremendous mass. One end, its head, most likely, swayed in the air as if sniffing or listening. Charlie's rational brain yelled at him from across the great chasm in his drifting consciousness. Your presence disturbed the unknown thing. It's looking for you. It moved like a snake, but it had no eyes, only a gaping hole on the end for swallowing, consuming. There was a gelatinous quality to its body. The worm stretched itself toward Charlie and hovered over him as if staring down. Absolute darkness was in its maw, as devoid of the weird teal light as the cave should have been. From inside that hole came sewer sounds, changing in pitch and duration. It was speaking words that should not be heard by man, that man should not comprehend, but somehow their meaning became clear in Charlie's head despite their inhuman way, even with his scrambled thoughts. What are you? Charlie shook and stuttered, but he couldn't answer. It bent down closer. Charlie could smell it. Dank, earthy, like algae and mildewed potatoes. I am the being of this river. I sleep beneath it as my cousin sleeps beneath the village, as her offspring sleep beneath the mountains. I have not received a sacrifice in many floods. Charlie at last managed to respond, I'm not the sacrifice. Are you the priest then? A priest has not come in many more floods. Charlie almost replied that he wasn't the priest either, but what would become of it then? The water worm was no longer an unknown thing. Charlie saw, he smelled, he could touch if he wished. The water's heat had brought back some of his feeling, and with it painful realization of his injuries. Now that this river worm was known, he wrestled between fear and curiosity of what unknown things lived in other dark lands. So then, priest, you have seen me as you wished. Now the sacrifices may continue. I am hungry. The worm's mouth descended on him. His scream was silenced as he was enveloped. The darkness tightened all around him, snapping his bones, rearranging them. His lungs cried out for air. Inside the worm, swirling, coiling, through and down, carried along by water and musculature, he thought that this time had to be the end. He would soon meet yet another unknown thing, one on the other side of mortality. But he was wrong again, for now at least. Flushed out completely, he found himself in a brownish-green mass of moving water, light above, and not the unnerving teal glow from the temple. He breached the surface of the Augustus River, far downriver from Touchstone and Witch's Cauldron. He gasped and shouted. The hot sun blessed his face. He made it to shore easily. He had no broken bones, no bruises, no scrapes or markings. Charlie knew it was no accident that he'd been spared. It was on purpose. Yes, his life had purpose now. He took the path through the woods to the train tracks that paralleled this section of the Augustus, then walked the tracks upriver. He felt himself drawn as if still borne by a current, by a purpose. He would find the group searching for his body. He would tell them of what dwells beneath this river. He would convert them all. He would send down a sacrifice. That's the end of that story. Thanks.
Well done.
Yeah.
And I very relevant. Actually, I was a river guide on the New River for a couple summers in West Virginia, so some of that. And I also did some caving as well.
But you never sacrificed anybody, right?
Right.
Likely story.
Yeah. All right. So it is our custom between authors just to pause, take a breath, breathe once or twice, let the work sort of resonate and ring, and just have a still moment before we move on. So we're going to do that. Timothy G. Huguenin, everybody, thank you so much for a wonderful story, Tim. Our next author is Todd Keisling. Todd is a writer and designer of the horrific and strange. His books include Scan Lines, The Final Reconciliation, the Monochrome Trilogy, and Devil's Creek, which is a 2020 Bram Stoker Award finalist for superior achievement in a novel, Kentucky's Oswald Research and Creativity Prize for creative writing, 2002 and 2005. And his second novel, The Liminal Man, was an Indie Book Award finalist in horror and suspense, 2013. And Todd lives in Pennsylvania with his family. Todd, take it away. Welcome.
Thank you. Thank you. So I'm going to be reading a new story tonight from my new collection, Cold, Black, and Infinite, which is out now from Cemetery Dance. This story is seasonal, and if you're a fan of Hallmark movies, you might find the humor in this. But that being said, there are some trigger warnings. The story contains murder of adults, mutilation, bullying and relationship trauma. So also it has some bad language. So if any of that bothers you, maybe not listen to this. Yeah, if you kind of hate Hallmark movies too. So this will be the first time I have read this story in its entirety to a crowd. I usually only do an excerpt of this, so it's kind of long, so I will get to it. The Happytown Yuletide Massacre. Angela's thinking about her ex when the rental car's engine sputters and dies. She coasts another quarter mile before pulling over on the roadside, just before the city limits sign. Welcome to Happytown, it reads, and she's never been so relieved to be home for the holidays. Which is ironic, she thinks, because her relationship problems always seem to start here. They're always tall, handsome, and rugged, the sort of guys who can kill a bear with their hands and then cook you a candle at dinner, and they're always flawed, too. Sort of like the diamond engagement ring Chet bought her, fractured and always too small to notice at first. Chet's the latest in a string of failures, yet another perfect guy she'd met here in Happytown last Christmas. Her 3-week-long vacation from the city was a whirlwind romance from the moment she saw him unloading the evening delivery at her mother's bakery downtown to the speech he gave at the children's orphanage. She'd fallen in love with him in those 3 weeks, and now, a year later, here she is again, returning home a bachelorette. All roads lead back to Happytown, she mumbles and turns the key. The starter clicks, the engine whines a death rattle, and then all is silent. Angela curses, slams her hand on the steering wheel, and checks her phone. She thinks about calling Chet, but that's a wound she isn't willing to reopen. Not when it's still so fresh. Besides, she's not that far from her childhood home. This time of evening, her mother will just be getting home from the bakery, and won't this be a funny story to tell over wine in front of the fireplace? Walking the last mile or so won't be a problem. She packed light, anticipating a call from her assistant or maybe one of her partners at the firm asking her to return to the city early. There's a last-minute fire drill with a client. Or maybe it's an excuse to get away from Chet, or Mark, or Doug, Chuck, Tim, Andrew, the Happytown harem, her mother calls them. All those almost perfect but not quite relationships that had sparked over Christmas and fizzled by the next Thanksgiving. Firefighter, the cop, the psychiatrist. Angela's counting them off in her head as she retrieves her rolling suitcase from the trunk. The inviting lights of downtown Happytown twinkle in the distance, but the road into town is empty, lit by a lonely row of pale streetlights. She checks her watch. It's only a few minutes after 8. She can't remember the last time she's seen Happytown so quiet this close to the holiday. And isn't the annual lighting of the Christmas tree in Happytown Square tonight? Did she get her days mixed up? Maybe I'll call Mom, let her know I broke down. Angela dials her mother, but the call doesn't go through. An operator tells her all circuits are busy. She stares at the smartphone screen and Chet's name in big white letters under starred contacts. No, I'm broken down, but not that broken down. She pockets the phone, locks the car, and begins her journey into town. Her mother isn't home, and the old 2-story colonial where Angela grew up is draped in shadow. She stands on the front porch, rings the bell, and listens for the creak of old flooring or the warm call of her mother to say the door is unlocked. It isn't. Angela's already tried, and the house is silent save for the hum of the basement boiler. She checks her phone again. No signal, which is odd even for a tiny burg this far from the city, but Angela isn't worried. Guess I'm not done walking. She shoves her hands into her pockets and sets off back through the neighborhood toward downtown. Not much has changed in the years since she moved to the city to be a big shot professional. Then again, she supposes small towns like this never do. Neither do the people, always so stuck in their ways. never open to new things. So glad I got away when I could. But here she is once again, preparing to waste another Christmas away in Happytown, where the old dramas are still unfolding on a cosmic scale. Old feuds and rivalries, small town gossip and scandals. For all its quaint sameness, Happytown is never boring. It's hard to be bored when you're the talk of the town year after year. Your relationship exploits a hot topic for the duration of your stay. Who will Angela fall in love with this year? She wonders aloud, her breath lithe phantoms in the chill breeze. And will it stick this time? Find out this Christmas on The Young and the Hopeless. Angela laughs quietly to herself. The levity keeps her company in the cold as she makes her way through her old neighborhood. She daydreams of hot chocolate and a good book, while curled up in front of her mom's fireplace, perhaps snuggled next to a warm body, someone like... No, not someone like him, or even him. Maybe someone new. Someone new. Is that even possible in a place like Happytown? No, she supposes it isn't, and sooner or later she'll reach the bottom of the town's available bachelors. Surely there's someone here who's the perfect match, the perfect yin for her yang, the sort of fellow who's a manly man, not too manly, ruggedly handsome, but in touch with his sensitive side. The kind of guy who can fell a tree and then paint a beautiful landscape in watercolor. Is that too much to ask for? Angela looks skyward, giggling as a snowflake kisses her nose, and then nearly trips on the sidewalk. She stumbles forward, cries out with a yelp when she realizes the crumpled shape isn't someone's carelessly tossed garbage bag, but a person in a black parka. The coat's folds are slick and shiny with blood. And when Angela realizes it really is a person and not some other sort of detritus, she tries to stifle the scream rising in her throat. What escapes is a pitiful squeak, a shrill punctuation that echoes throughout the empty neighborhood and succeeds in making her feel impossibly small. Heart racing, Angela kneels beside the figure and nudges back the parka hood. The sight of the dead man's pale face steals her breath, halts any other scream from progressing up her throat, and for a frozen minute, she can't look away because she knows this face. This face, with a viciously deep wound bisecting its forehead and glassy eyes staring into nowhere, belongs to Richard, her first Happytown love. He helped save her mother's bakery from bankruptcy back when the economy crashed. Stood up to the greedy land developer trying to swoop in and buy the property out from under her. And now he's dead of a massive head wound. By the stunned look on his face, he didn't see it coming, whatever it was. Oh, no, Richard. Tears well up in Angela's eyes. She's thinking of all the good times they had together. She's thinking of the way he wanted her to quit her job and move back to Happytown, or the way he wouldn't put the goddamn toilet seat down. She collects herself and checks her phone. Still no signal, and now the battery's almost dead. Instead, she seeks the neighborhood for a house with lights on. Someone with a working phone. So she can call Happytown's finest, but no one is home anywhere. Apparently, the only lights are those above and the street lamps guiding her downtown. I'm so sorry, Richard. She steps over him, pauses when she notices the flowers clutched in his other hand. Was he coming to meet me at Mom's house? Oh God, I hope those weren't for me. She stares a second longer and frowns. I hope not. He knows I hate roses. Angela looks down away toward town. Her mom's bakery. There's a phone, and it's just a few blocks from here. There are no cars. The night is silent except for the scraping of dead tree limbs in the breeze, and a light curtain of snow drapes the street in white. She's thankful she wore her boots. Frightened, charged with adrenaline, Angela begins to run. But Richard isn't the only one. All of Happy Avenue is littered with the snow-covered dead, its once cheery holiday-themed decor of lights and wreaths coated with a layer of splattered blood, and the street itself is a chaotic junkyard of abandoned cars. Some of the engines are still running, filling the air with clouds of exhaust, and with the colorful lights breaking through the haze, Angela thinks the scene is something ripped from her nightmares. What the hell happened here? My God, is this why everything's so quiet? The victims have all suffered some form of blunt force trauma, and the murderer did not discriminate. Men, women, children, they're here and covered in their own gore. Most faces she's known since she was a little girl, all frozen in violent expressions of rage or fear. Blank eyes staring through the dark emptiness above, and some hands clutching. Wait a minute. Angela sucks in her breath, takes a closer look at the nearest body. The town mayor grips a baseball bat in his dead hands. The bat's end is stained red, and there's a flap of skin stuck to it. Skin with a few orphaned strands of hair. Her stomach lurches, tumbles over itself, and Angela fights to resist the nausea. She turns away, catches her breath, and steals a glance at another group of bodies near the sidewalk. They're all holding something. Shovels, rakes, crowbar, makeshift weapons against whoever did this to them. But a frightening thought creeps into Angela's mind, one she can't shake no matter how much she refuses to accept it. Were they protecting themselves from the murderer or from each other? She backs away from the scene, turns back toward town square, and spots her mother's bakery. A cold weight settles into her gut. Mom? Oh, God. Her boots thud against the pavement as she races forward across the street. She tells herself to ignore the bodies in her periphery. Not an easy task. There are more dead here than on the street, some piled atop one another, and the walkways in Happytown Square are streaked in blood. She wants to scream, but all that manifests is the fire in her lungs. Instead, her mind screams for her. All the faces she recognizes, and for the terror etched forever into their bleeding faces. Mom, please, God, please. The lights inside Happytown Bakery are still on, and the windows are fogged from the heat. Angela allows herself a moment to catch her breath. She whispers a short prayer, opens the door, slips inside. She's assaulted with the smell of fresh bread and pastries. Christmas music plays from the radio on the bakery counter. A banner hangs along the wall behind the counter that reads, "Welcome home, Angela." Home is splattered with blood. Mom? Her voice cracks against the silence, and the sound of its frailty troubles her. The rush of heat in the store is suffocating. She fights for breath and tries again. Mama? Movement. A floorboard creaks underfoot. Someone's here. And after all this time, Angela hasn't considered what she might do if it's not her mother. That someone else would be here is something she can't compute. So, when the figure in the gingerbread man costume steps out of the shadows, Angela doesn't react. The figure is just another part of the mise en scène, right at home with a display case of Danishes and a small countertop Christmas tree. He's tall, this gingerbread man, with fluffy red and green buds down his torso like buttons of frosting, and his face is a sickeningly red smile with dollops of green for eyes. His arms are covered in dark stains, and the fire axe he's holding drips blood on the bakery's otherwise pristine floor. Merry Christmas, Angie! It's the axe that breaks Angela's trance and lights the fire in her mind. The axe and puddling blood below it. Her mother would have a fit if she knew this guy was making a mess in her bakery. Her mother. Angela's already screaming when she puts the pieces together. She's backing away, blindly seeking the door handle so she can retreat into the night, and the gingerbread man is headed straight for her. He slams the gloved hand against the door and watches her scramble away. She slips on the blood, tries to correct her balance, and falls hard on one knee. Angie! His voice is muffled, distant among all the bells chiming in her head. The impact on her knee is exquisite, igniting a burst of colors before her eyes, and she concentrates to keep from blacking out. Again, the gingerbread man says her name, and she thinks she recognizes the voice. Angie, are you okay? You took quite a fall. Stay away from me. She presses her back to the glass counter and slowly climbs to her feet. Where's my mother? Where's... She spots a shape on the floor behind the counter, and the rest of Angela's world glazes over in a veil of tears. Her mother lies on her side in a pool of blood. A deep gash runs down the length of her pale neck and nearly separates the old woman's head from her body. Next to her limp hand is one of her knives from the kitchen. No, no, no. Angela stares at her mother's corpse and fights off the despair taking root in her heart. She slowly turns back to the gingerbread man, and her sadness transforms into rage. Why? Why did you kill my mother? Whoa, whoa, hang on, Angela. The gingerbread man holds out his hand in an effort to calm her. He realizes he's brandishing the fire axe and slowly sets it against the door. That wasn't me. I didn't... Angela shakes her head. She does know that voice. Chet? Oh my God, Chet? The figure shrugs and removes the mask. Chet's face is flushed, covered in sweat and wild. He laughs in relief. I did it, Angie. I did it. I'm the last. He reads the look on her face, realizes what she's thinking, and shakes his head. No, I mean, I didn't do that. She was like that when I got here. Pretty sure that was Duncan. Remember him? She did remember Duncan, her boyfriend from 4th grade. He liked to pick his nose and wore the same pair of jeans for weeks at a time. Chet gestures to the blood on the floor. I guess he thought she knew when you'd be here. Anyway, it doesn't matter. I took care of him. Took care of him, Angela repeats. Yeah, I caught him coming out the back door. Put up a fight, too. Anyway, if you want to pay your respects, I dumped his body in the dumpster behind the building. Chet, what happened here? Angela is careful not to take her eye off the man as she walks around to the other side of the counter. She glances down, makes a note of where her mother's knife is, and is already calculating the seconds she'll need to retrieve it. Everyone's dead, Chet. Did you... Me? Oh, hell no, Angela. He waves his hand in the air, gestures toward the rest of the town, and expels an exasperated laugh. I mean, not all of them. Some of them. Duncan, for one. Tommy. Remember Tommy? Here's another one. And John, that asshole. Duncan, Tommy, John. She counts off the names in her head. Duncan from 4th grade. Tommy from high school. John, the chief of police from 2 Christmases ago. My ex-boyfriends? Well, yeah. I didn't want any competition. A pit opens in her gut and her insides race to the floor. Competition? Oh, come on, Angie. It's the same thing every year. You come home for the holiday, someone catches your eye, and they fall in love with you. Let's face it, everyone in Happytown adores you. I know I do. He reaches into his costume and lifts a silver chain around his neck. The diamond engagement ring dangles from the chain, flaws and all. And I guess we didn't want to wait this year to find out who you'd pick. You killed each other because of me? Chet scrunches his face and shrugs. Well, when you put it that way, it sounds really bad. It does. Look, I don't know who started it. I was making my holiday delivery to the orphanage, hence the costume, when I saw the crowds gathering in the square. Next thing I know, your old boyfriend George is yanking me out of my truck and trying to stab me with a box cutter. And after that, he looks out the window and trails off. You get the idea. Every Christmas, you're the talk of the town. Everyone wonders who's going to be your holiday fling, who might be the lucky one enough to put a ring on your finger. She waits a beat, and when Chet doesn't turn around, she kneels for the knife. Her niece screams and she nearly cries out, but Angela bites her tongue and takes the pain. She holds the knife behind her back, presses herself against the wall just as Chet turns back to face her. Angela shakes her head. But everyone in town, Chet? Even the kids? I know, right? I guess some of them went a little overboard. Started attacking more than just the other dudes. But hey, look on the bright side, babe. I'm still here. He holds out his arms, flashes the goofy grin that used to make her laugh, but this time Angela doesn't find it funny. Yeah, she says, you're still here. Last man left alive. Lucky you. Lucky me. So look, I know your mom's dead and all, but I was wondering if maybe we could go somewhere private and talk about the future. The future? What future, Chet? He jingles the necklace on his finger. Yeah, babe, our future. I'm the only guy left in Happytown this Christmas. Chet points to the ceiling. She looks up and stares at the clump of mistletoe suspended just above her head. And you're the only girl. Do the math. You crazy son of a bitch. The words hang on her tongue, almost slip loose, but she keeps them there a moment longer. She's studying the crazed look in his eye, his dilated pupils, the rictus of palpable happiness frozen on his sweating face. So what do you say, Angie? He takes hold of the fire axe and drags the blade along the floor behind him. We had a good thing going for a while. Don't you ever get tired of this endless cycle? This same holiday scenario playing on repeat every year? Why not settle down here in Happytown once and for all? Angela laughs. She can't help it. It's there and out before she can stop it, and Chet stares at her in disbelief while she cackles at his stupid speech. You. Hold on. Let me catch my breath. You don't remember what I told you the last time we talked, do you? Chet's face reddens, and his smile slowly vanishes. He lifts the axe and glares at her. You know, when I said I wouldn't marry you even if you were the last man in Happytown? Angela's still laughing, can't help herself, and the knife slips from her fingers. It clatters to the floor, and she quickly kneels to retrieve it. A reflex she doesn't even think about, despite the throbbing pain in her knee where she fell minutes before, and one which saves her life. Something whizzes through the air over her head, followed by bits of drywall and splintered wood. The axe head is wedged just inches from where she'd stood. Angela doesn't give herself time to think. She forgets the knife and darts toward the back door. Behind her, Chet roars her name, and all of Happytown begins to tremble. I didn't kill all those people to stand up a bachelor, Angie! Chet's not far behind when Angela rounds the corner of the building. She gives herself only a moment to choose a path. There's another pileup of cars on the adjacent street, and by the look of it, a few are still running. A heavy wall of snow is falling now, coating the town in white, and Angela hopes it will mask her escape. It doesn't have to be like this, Chet calls out. She ducks down behind an empty truck just as he emerges from the alley. We have the whole town to ourselves, Angie. It'll just be us, babe. King and queen of Happytown. A shrill scraping of metal follows his words. He's dragging the fire axe behind him as he approaches. Angela crab walks along the length of the truck and peeks up over the tailgate. Her ex stands on the sidewalk, scanning the street for any sign of her. King and queen of Happytown. The thought makes her shiver. All these people dead in a podunk battle royale to be her Christmas fling. Was she so predictable? Her mother's voice spoke up in her head. Well, you do have your own Happytown harem, young lady. Not anymore. Angela promises herself a change of scenery next Christmas if she makes it out of this mess. Somewhere warm. The beach, maybe, and far away from Chet. Angie! His voice trails off in the opposite direction. Come on, babe. Let's talk this out. It's cold out here, you know. Angela slips along the backside of the truck and steals a glance at the sidewalk. Chet's walking back toward the square. Now's her chance. She darts to the opposite lane in an SUV that's still puttering exhaust. Just a moment longer, and then a body slides out of the front seat and collapses at her feet. It's Henry, her boyfriend from senior year. His throat's been slashed, his whole front stained with gore, and his sudden appearance startles her. She screams. It's too late to stop it from coming, and Chet spins on his feet. They lock eyes, and Chet smiles. There you are, babe. Angela climbs into the SUV and slams the door. She reaches for the gear shift and drops the transmission into drive. Angie, come on, this is getting old. It's not like I planned this. I just happened to win. She panics, slams on the gas, and the SUV lurches forward into the next car's bumper. Shit. Reverse now. She backs the SUV into the front end of a truck. Another crunch, and somewhere outside, Chet's laughing. Enough's enough, babe. Angela fumbles with the gear shift, is about to drop the SUV into drive again when the axe head fractures the windshield. Bits of glass sprinkle across her face and upon the dashboard. She raises her hand to protect her eyes. Chet works the axe out of the crack, pulls back, and swings again. Just admit it, he says. Crack. We're meant, crack, to be together. The windshield shatters, filling the cabin with bits of glass in the chilly night air. Chet leans on the hood, brushes a damp strand of hair from his face, and flashes a perfect smile which, in another time and place, had once charmed the hell out of her. Now his good looks are tainted with madness, and to Angela he's the face of everything wrong with Happytown. Too much goddamn perfection. Are you gonna make me chase you for the rest of time? Angela drops the transmission into drive and grips the steering wheel. I'm not your final girl, Chet. She slams on the gas. Tires squeal in complaint, and an instant later, the SUV scrapes past the car in its way. She's halfway out of town before she looks back in the rear view, and the tears of relief overtake her. Angela follows the road into the wilderness outside town. The encroaching blizzard loses its fury during her escape, its thick curtain of white finally thinning, and she thanks the universe for a break. It's short-lived, that gratitude. As she rounds another curve in the road and the SUV's engine begins to sputter, it chugs along for another mile, and Angela's anger slowly fades to confused terror when she recognizes her surroundings. There are other abandoned vehicles parked on both sides of the road. Cars and trucks and a few SUVs. And just ahead of them all is the rental car. The same blue trim. The out-of-state plates. Her rental car. Another chugging complaint, and the SUV's engine chugs one last time before finally dying in a bit of exhaust fumes. She slows to a stop in the center of the road, just alongside the rental car, and stares in horror at the city limit sign. Welcome to Happytown. No. This is impossible. Angela steps out of the SUV, slams her fist on the hood, and screams. Maybe she took a wrong turn, or got turned around some other way. She wants to believe that's the case, but knows in her heart it isn't. Because she never took a turn on her way out of town. Just followed the same road she's always followed when leaving. And now, she can't remember if she's ever left before. because that's her rental car parked over there, the same as all these other vehicles abandoned on the side of the road. Because she can't remember the journey into town. But I have a job, a career, a major one with clients and an assistant. Yet their names and faces escape her. She can't even remember what she does for a living. Figures that's because it's never been important, an insignificant omission from the script she's followed for all time. A lone figure approaches from town, its solitary silhouette in sharp contrast against the colorful haze of Happytown proper, and walks down the center of the road toward her. The sound of scraping metal follows the figure's footsteps. She looks skyward and is struck with a sense of vertigo. The world trembles, seems to shake around her. Flakes of snow slowly begin to fall once again. Through the thin white veil, Angela glimpses shapes in the sky. Cheekbones, a nose, lips, eyes as big as moons. For a fleeting moment, she sees the cruel god beyond the glass, finally understands her place in this endless loop of holiday cheer. A sharp breeze swells around her, encompassing her world in the fury of an artificial blizzard, and Angela turns away from the darkness. All roads lead to Happytown, she mumbles, and wipes her tears on her sleeve. Merry Christmas. That's it.
Wow, that was great.
I can't believe you've never read the whole thing before. Oh, that's awesome.
And just under the wire, too. So there's plenty of time. Time to spare.
Thank you.
Todd Keisling, everybody. Thank you so much, Todd, for joining us at Story Hour. Tim Huguenin as well. Really wonderful work, both of you. Come on back anytime. Really great Story Hour. Thank you both so much.
Thanks so much for having us.
And of course, I want to thank my co-host, Laura Blackwell, and all of you folks for coming back every week. Close to 4 years now, and over 200 authors, many of them repeat offenders, or a few of them repeat offenders. So we'll see you next week, where we're very excited to have Tim Pratt and Heather Shaw joining us. So between now and then, take care of yourselves, and we will see you next time. Good night, everybody.